So yeah, just tell me about who gave you your first break, who gave you a leg up?
You know what, there's been so many people along the way that have helped me out, and if it wasn't for all these different people along the way, I wouldn't be where I am today. You know, I think there's a lot of people I have to thank and give credit to for where I am. The first gig I actually got was in Sydney in a club called Biblos. And over here, when I came over here, I actually met Mr. Danny Whittle, who's a very important man here in Pacha. He's the one responsible for getting in all the big DJs that we have. I met him in Australia on the Millennium. He was over there doing a party for home. And so when I came over here, he introduced me around to a few people, and I actually got a job in the Pacha record store, which wasn't really a record store. I think we had about 12 records, and it was just CDs. So that sort of helped me get through half a summer, and in that time, I was doing little DJ gigs here and there. And
what was your first gig on the island?
My first gig, you know, it was really funny. This whole story is so mixed up, but all the people that are involved sort of know each other, and it's very strange. The first gig I got in Pacha was through a Melbourne promoter called Chris Knight, who I used to play for years ago. I used to fly down to Melbourne and do his parties called Monkey, and they're sort of underground tech house stuff, which was they were awesome. And he met Danny Whittle through another friend of mine, and Danny invited him to come and do a party in the Global Room. Now, the Global Room actually changed its name to the Global Room because the idea of that first year was to host global parties. So one week they had Australia, next week they had South Africa, then they had Germany, or, you know, so it was that was the concept. And for the Australia party, obviously I was on the island, you know, looking for DJ work. I was invited to come and play, and I was so excited. There was no one there. I basically started at like midnight and played for like an hour and a half or something, only to the staff, but was just over the moon. I was so excited. And then my next gig in Pacha was when Smoking Joe couldn't turn up one night, or she missed her flight, or she didn't come. And my now manager's wife, who I was very good friends with back then, said to my manager, who was working, obviously, booking the DJs as well, that's Mark Netto, she's like, well, obviously you need a female to fill in. Why don't you get Sarah? So that was another gig. I played in the main room then, and imagine I was even more excited than the first time. A little bit nervous, and yeah, that was really cool. And then after that, I missed my flight back to Australia. I had no money. Sad story, you know. And they invited me to play in Pacha as a gesture to, they said I'd pay me money to do a spot, and then I'll be able to buy my return ticket to Amsterdam so I can get my ticket home to Australia. And then just from that night, played, and they said, well, why don't you just hang around for the winter and become the resident, or try out for the residency. And that was it.
And the
rest is history, and here I am. It's all good. It's all good.
Is it what you expected it would be, the radio show?
I sort of didn't know what to expect, really, you know, so it's been great. It was sort of not something that I thought I'd fall into, or I never thought I'd do it, but now that I'm doing it, you know, I'm really enjoying it. And I've got the bug, and the best thing about the whole thing is that I get to choose all the music. I'm deciding what tracks I think are going to be big for the summer, and I have a little like sort of eclectic section, and you know, I basically worked out the whole show myself, and what I want to have, obviously my main player, and then we have like the Pacha A list, and you know, I decide where everything goes, and that's a real pleasure for me. So.
How do you find being a female in the industry? Has it worked for you? Do you use it?
I don't think that I use it, and I don't think, you know, obviously I think it's worked for me. I don't think it's a negative thing. Some women will say, oh, it's so hard, you know, being in a male-dominated industry, but I think there's a pros and cons, but I think it's more of a positive thing than anything. It's sort of like, you know, when I started DJing, you know, you would play with a male DJ and they'd be like, oh, you all right? Can I help you? You know, if you weren't as good as them, then they'd set you up and they'd help you. Then if you played with them and you were better than them, they were like, oh my God, I can't believe a woman is better than me. So you get like the ultimate respect. So, I mean, I maybe had a few bad encounters with the angry male DJs in my time, but nothing that I would even remember or nothing that even stands out. I think it's all been positive, and I think too it's the way that I've looked at it. I was in China recently, and was doing a press conference, and this one guy at the back thought he was really clever to go, so why do you think females always have to use their sexuality to promote themselves, and why do male DJs never do that, or they don't need to do that? And I wasn't expecting that, because everyone would have been, you know, and I don't think I answered properly. I said I don't think that females need to use their sexuality or necessarily always do use their sexuality. I think basically, you know, your talent's going to shine through whether you're sexy or not. But then when I thought about it again, I thought, look, there's loads of male DJs that use their sexuality as well. My manager said to me, sex sells. And sex sells everything, not just DJs. Like, everywhere you look in the world, you know, people are using that to sell their products. So
toothpaste,
exactly,
anything.
Exactly, everything.
So would you like to be an ambassador for Pioneer? Because they've got some cool people on their books, like...
that'd be... I mean, it'd be such an honour, you know, to stand alongside those guys especially and work with them. It's just because they've taken over the club market and the DJ market, and every DJ just wants to use Pioneer equipment, Pioneer mixers, Pioneer CDJs. So, I mean, DJs are cool, and so the equipment that they use is going to be cool.